Welcome to the In Between podcast. This is a companion to my newsletter of the same name. And one of the things that I've always been fascinated with growing up was the stories that connect us. And so this is a way for me to bring to life some of the conversations and topics that I talk about and I write about on my newsletter through conversations with people around the world. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Eleni in Dubai. We met years ago through our husbands, and I remember and always appreciate when I first moved there, you sharing your stories and experience with me when I was navigating finding my place professionally and personally. So thank you. And I'm so glad you're here with me today.
Nina, I love that we are touching base again. It's like you never left, by the way. I feel like we kept somehow the thread and we never left it. I'm so happy to see you again. You know, your face, the way you smile. And
Oh,
I feel very, very lucky to have you as a friend from a different place, from a different continent, and being able to share, how we live our journeys.
thank you. So the main thing for this whole podcast is having conversations with people from around the world.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show that, we're all connected by experience. It's personal, professional, but there's always a common thread, right? We're all dealing with the same things. And I think you have such a fascinating story. So can you tell us a little more about yourself?
Okay, I don't know if my story is fascinating for anyone except for myself. But what I find, I guess something which is I feel good for me is that born and raised in Greece, from a family, the usual size and mentality and culture. Growing up, I was trying to find myself in a way that was not so easy until I left my comfort zone and the place I knew, and I had to challenge myself with different things. I know it's becoming a cliche, but finally, unless you do that, you
Mhm.
never know what you're capable of. And I always say that getting out of my comfort zone, coming to a country where everybody was telling me, no, you should not go there, it's not good for women, and all the stuff, it made me look out of my little place
Mhm.
and see what's wrong, what's not wrong, what I can do, what I cannot do, but definitely how I can be a different and definitely better person of who I was. And very quickly, I mean, I've been 30 years in corporate world, many companies, changed roles, became a mother of two. My kids are 20, 24. We're just discussing I'm going to be a grandmom probably in a few years. Um, I was always taking my chances and risks because I love doing things from scratch and challenging myself. And I came in a region where I feel that it gave me the opportunity to do that more than anywhere else if I was somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's my fascinating life, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting you say, right, ending up in a region where there's so much opportunity. And I think I felt the same way when I was living there.
Yeah.
And it's still something that I tell people all the time. And it's amazing the perception that people have of the region. And I remember even when we moved there, I used to get it was such a mixed reaction. I had people who were like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Why are you sorry? This is a wonderful place, right?" But then you have people from here, some are innocent and generally trying to understand, and there are people who are like, "Oh, can you drive?" And
Yeah.
wow, there is so much that people can learn from the region and just moving, like you say, beyond your comfort zone and understanding, learning cultures and how do we pick up different things? How do we move forward and pick up new skills? You talk about being in the corporate world for 30 years. And I remember you're at Facebook and now you've moved on. You are an author. I have your book. I need you to sign it, by the way. And, you started your own company. So can you share a little more about this shift, really? One of the things that comes up a lot of my conversations is people are trying to figure out when is the right time to pursue something new?
Okay. So one point I would like to make for what it means to be in Dubai and what it means to be
Hmm.
having these kind of different experiences. Everybody, when they talk about Dubai, they think about, oh, money and glamour.
Mm,
So this is not the case. My
mhm,
biggest revelation here is that I was not anymore the majority, I was the minority,
mm,
coming from a country where I was the majority when it comes to the population and my
mhm,
characteristics. And that brought me to a point where I felt respectful about everyone, no matter where they were coming from. Because in the beginning, I was asking them, where do you come from? So I can actually
mm,
familiarize myself. But at some point, I was not interested in knowing where they're coming from as long as
mhm,
I could communicate and have a conversation and feel we have the same values. So for me, that was a game changer. And the same applies with my kids, where they love this kind of diversity of people and cultures and habits and all that stuff. I think that was a big thing for me that helped me also to make the changes in my life,
mm,
because it felt that, when you're in such a place where everyone is doing different things at a different time, there is not such as you have a routine, you have a journey,
mm.
there's a milestone, shut up, you have to follow this, end of
Yep.
story. You're always seeing things happening differently by
Mhm,
different people. And for me, when I felt that after 30 years, I was coming close to a very stalled time where nothing was changing. I had an amazing job, an amazing time. But should I do something different, or am I dying inside out? And when is
yeah,
the right time to do? There's not the right time. I was thinking about that for more than a couple of years. And at some point, I said, if I don't do it now, which was a point where also my kids left, so I was an
mm,
empty nester, I would be the same person over and over again. And I was seeing people around me, younger or older, doing that like it was okay. And actually, it was my son, and this is a true story, Nina. He This Christmas, that Christmas, I think it was 2021, 2022, he created business cards for me, calling them Eleni Kitra group of companies. And his card was, you talk too much about this, it's time to do that. And I said,
wow.
you are joking. Am I talking that much about that? And I don't understand that, which means my need is coming out. And then I said, yeah, okay. And in 3 months, I had decided I'm gonna go. So I went to the company. I said, I'm leaving. Why are you leaving? I'm leaving. I need that.
Yeah.
And that's how I did that. Okay.
Wow, wow.
It's very simplified, but you get the point. That was something I need to do that.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, and I think it's something that I felt in talking to people, it resonates. I
Um,
spoke to my parents and some of the stuff that I'm doing right now makes no sense to some people, right? And my parents are always like, "Well, the time is now. Just start. It's
yeah.
totally
Yeah.
fine." And I love that Greg is like,
He
"Okay, well,
did
you
that.
talk about this so much, so you should do
Yeah.
this."
So do
Right?
that. Yes.
Yeah. And it's so true. Sometimes you need someone else to say that to you because I was in a similar spot. I took some time out and I was like, oh, maybe I want to go do this. Maybe I want to go do that. And in having random conversations with people,
Mm.
they can tell what lights a spark in you, right? And when we come to talking about communication, or whatever, they're like, "Do you realize how different you sound and just the joy that comes from you when you talk
Yeah.
about certain things?" So pursue that and communication, talking to people. Here I am, just talking to people from all over. And the thing is, it's amazing. I think it's amazing what you're doing. I was reading up, so you talk about so it's KITRA Inclusive,
Inclusive. Yeah, the company.
and it's
Yes.
leadership and marketing, right? So
It's
it's
inclusive leadership, inclusive marketing, because we need that.
okay.
Okay.
So yes, and I totally
We need
I'm
that.
all yes, and I'm all for it. And here, unfortunately, in the US, it's been a bit of a hot topic, controversial. I think there are a lot of changes happening here, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand. So how does when you talk about inclusivity, inclusion around equity and maybe this I don't know whether this comes up, how does that differ in the UAE compared to other regions that you've worked in or been exposed to?
I am in a region where diversity is by default because this
Mm,
country, I think, maybe they're not the right numbers, but they're very close. No more than 10%, 11% are Emirati. The
mhm,
rest are people coming from different parts of the world. And actually, the more the population grows, the more we have more nationalities coming in, and they change the synthesis of the population overall. So coming here and seeing that, this was became the base, the foundation for that. But how you speak about inclusion is a different thing, okay? And how you avoid the stereotypes.
mm,
I think the region here, it's maybe the most diverse and inclusive I have ever been and experienced. And it's not about if they went above a threshold or if they are the benchmark. For me, is that the effort is constant to
mhm.
make this region here welcoming every person with different characteristics, different talents, different capabilities. And this is where you talk about equity. One of the things that was recently announced is that AI will go and will be included in the curriculum of the schools, of the
Oh, wow.
elementary schools. Yeah. Everybody is afraid of what AI is going to do to the, workforce, and people are going to be fired, it's going to change everything. But unless you make that a friend of yours, unless you make that something you really understand and can understand how to make this part and integrate that in life and business, it will always be an alien thing. So this decision only makes you think that we are not afraid of the different.
Mhm,
We get it together and we make it part of our lives. This is how diverse and inclusion and equity works here. However, I stopped talking about DEI because it has been there's so much misconception about that. And I started talking about inclusivity in everything we do. So we avoid the stereotype between men and women,
mm,
Asian and, I don't know, Emirati and Black and Arabs
mm.
and religions. No, you talk about the role that everybody needs to play a role in the best way they can. And this is where equity
Yep.
comes. So I dropped the usual terminology because this creates wrong connotations. And I
Mm.
went into, and I think the whole region here is going to this direction.
I yeah, I think so too, and I think, you made an interesting point. Many other places, I think about benchmarks, and everything is tied to, oh, a number, and, what's the percentage and what's the breakdown, and everything is very systematic, I guess, in a way, and
It
it's
is,
not
it is,
natural,
it is,
right?
it is.
And but then we don't think about what it really means. To your point, how do you make people feel welcome? What is the feeling that they have? And I totally agree with you. It's Dubai is hands down to this day one of the places that I top of my list, purely because of how comfortable I felt in
Yeah,
terms of just being with so many different, nationalities, culture. I felt welcome and I felt
yeah.
safe. I felt
Safe,
safe. That
big word,
Yes.
Nina. Big word, Nina. Yeah,
And that was the thing for me to this day, is when people talk about all these different things, I'm like, ultimately, I felt safe to be myself, to be able to express my ideas, but just not feel like, oh, are you going to judge me, or is something going to happen to me because of who I am? And I don't think I ever felt that. Right. And this is just from a purely simple thing like physical safety. I remember
yeah,
my job having to work late at night and driving through Abu Dhabi to Dubai, whatever, I'm on my own
yeah,
or I'm in the cab, and I never had to feel like, what is going to happen to me? And psychological safety, that was such a big thing too. And I think it's so important when people, particularly here, because there's so much debate about it, and whether it's, oh, we just got to hit numbers. It's like, no, how do we actually make everyone feel included? And to your point, that everyone has a part to play in creating this, right?
yes,
And
yes.
how do we ensure people feel safe? So it's refreshing. having this conversation again. What are we doing wrong here? You're like, where do I start?
Look, there are things that have to go bottoms up and top down,
Yeah.
but they need to meet somewhere. And you need sometimes the quotas and the benchmarks because some people do not always understand
Yeah.
what is contextually happening. They don't read the room, as we say. So
Yeah.
you need the numbers, and you need to be able to create this kind of you go from point A to point B to
Mhm.
point C, and they know how to follow and the milestones. But if you don't feel that as part of what you need to do, you will not know how to adjust in occasions where you need to make choices
Mhm.
and decide how to treat people and how to talk to someone and what are the key elements you need to have into your mind. But here I feel it becomes a habit. Not everyone is perfect. Okay, there's no
Mm.
place in the world which is perfect. Not state, no, government. But I'm making the comparison between here and my home country to give you an idea, or here and where my daughter is studying,
Mm.
who also wants to come back to Dubai because she feels more included. She feels that she sees more nationalities than where she
Mhm.
is, and she feels
Yep.
more safe. So if a young kid, she's 22 years old, and she actually told me, I don't believe that 4 years ago I want to get out of where you are and I want to be independent. And now after 4 years, I want to come back because I
Yep.
miss that. If
Yeah.
that is not a solid point coming from
Mhm.
someone who's 22 years old, then what it is?
Yeah. Yeah. That is absolutely true, and as a parent, we have a 10-year-old, and she is born in Dubai, and that is something we think about a lot now in
Yes.
terms of safety and feeling included and what that feels like and what is that how does that show up in her daily life? I think
Yeah.
she is very happy here in Seattle, but I can tell through some of our conversations, there is a curiosity about, hey, what is life like elsewhere?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
the understanding that, oh, I was born in Dubai, I lived in Singapore, I moved around the world, my parents have moved around the world. And I talked to her a lot about the different upbringings, right? I grew up as a third culture kid, I moved around a
Yeah.
lot. And to one of your earlier points, where no one is talking about where are you from and I
Yeah.
never grew up with that. And we just had the idea we're all here together. We're all experiencing this new, place and we're just together, right? We find
Yeah.
commonality. We understand the differences. We respect each other's culture. How do we live together, work together, play together, and just respect each other and have the best time? And I think that's one thing I want for her. How do I raise her to be someone who is respectful of other cultures?
Yes. Yes. And Nina, I think that when you are surrounded by so many different people. Of course, there are things you like or you don't like, or you feel, well accustomed to that. But I think it gives you a better level of you to be a responsible person and accountable for what you do and what you say, what your
Yes.
mouth,
Yes.
okay, says. And the other thing I found out, I was a better person to understand where I'm coming from. What do I stand as a Greek person? Where my, how can I say, my honor to be Greek comes from, and where do I need to make a bigger effort to make things better for my home country? So I think it helped me analyze what I stand for as a
Mhm.
human being for the different aspects and elements that make my character. So I found this revealing to understand myself as well and not think that I do these things over and over. So that's the right way. No, the things I've not been doing well, things have improved, things that will never change. And then seeing the other people, I respect everyone for the effort to leave their home country, come to another, make a living, make friends, adjust so they can actually live with each other in a
Mhm.
way that this is not against their values. because for me, the
Mhm.
values are the most important, not whether you eat with your hands or with your
Mhm.
forks, or if you eat meat or you're a vegetarian. These don't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why I feel that where I am here, I wish I had come earlier
Yeah.
and I had opened up my mind, my brain, at an earlier stage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and I definitely felt when we lived there, we had a similar feeling.
Yeah.
I wish I came earlier, and I grew up with some of my best friends were from the region, lived in China together, and I just remember hearing so much about the place and just the culture and all of the different things, and I never really had a chance to experience it till later, and it shifted so much of my perspective too, and having conversation with people after and helping people understand how different of a worldview they have of the
Yes.
region,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it really also, I think, made it very clear how much of an influence media has, and I it was astounding. I felt like when I was living there, a lot of the conversations I had with people, whether it was, family, friends around the world, it was a constant, like, no, this is not what it means. And,
Yeah.
no, you need to think about it a certain way. And I remember it actually, there was a moment when it made me think about a conversation I had with my friend, Amal, who is living in Oman. And she had left when we left high school. All of us, a group of us, had moved the same year, just randomly,
Okay.
and everybody moved to different countries. She ended up moving back to Oman, and within that first year, as we were catching up, just having conversation and understanding different things, and, and she said, "So much of my view shifted, even as someone who is originally from the region, and it's so frustrating to have these conversations with people all the time to help them understand that, like, no, what you see on TV is not us. And she just didn't understand the disconnect of why is everybody looking at it this way. And I think it was such a shift for her coming from an environment where she grew up internationally, not having to consider so many different things. And now she's like, I don't know how to process all of this. And at that time, when I had that conversation with her when I was much younger, I didn't quite understand what she meant.
Mm,
And then when I moved to the region, I thought, wow, I get it now, right? Like
yeah.
I was so ignorant despite growing up with different cultures and different places. And to your point, when you talk about how everybody comes together, there's the beauty in people leaving their country, having the courage to do that, start new, do things differently. And I think about it in a context of here too, right? Like it's such a melting pot. And yes, we
Mm,
should commend the people who move here, who have the courage to leave things behind, whether to start new or do better or do, just want a better life for their family. And yet somehow the response is not the same. Everyone
yeah.
doesn't look at what you say, the values that people have, and everyone's just looking at surface like, oh, you do this, oh, you do that. Well, what about taking it another step and understanding what values do they have and what is it that holds us together? So it's such a scary time for us here now that I
Yeah.
hope having these conversations that people realize, like, a lot of us have similar values, and even if some of our values are not the same, that's okay, right? That's kind of part of life, but we can still be respectful, which I find is something that somehow isn't top of everyone's priority anymore. And it's really sad. From a parent point of view, I see that and I'm genuinely scared for my daughter. I'm always listening to her, I'm asking her questions, and I'm trying to see what she's absorbing from around the
Yes.
environment and what she's watching, and just making sure that, hey, when we are traveling, we're meeting other people, you don't have this narrow view of like, oh, well, this is not how it's done. I'm like, that, who are we to say that, right? So I don't know. There's so much we can learn from other places. And I think for you too, right? You talk about your Greek heritage and what it's like in Dubai and I'm sure when you travel around the world, there are little things that you pick up along the way and what makes sense for us. And you talked about AI and education. That's mind blowing because here everyone's like, oh my God, I'm losing my job. Or AI is taking over, you can't write. So not to dive into diversity and all of that, but how do you think technology and some of this digital transformation really is going to impact the way that we think about and approach
Mm.
inclusivity, if that's
Uh,
relevant?
it is everything is intertwined and they connect to each other. We know that technology is being made of what we feed in the
Mm,
machines, what the kind of data, information, insights we give it, and then they create the different kind of models. And so I do hope that we become as human beings smarter and more responsible to feed in the technology and the
mm,
models in a way with insights and practices that they're more diverse than in the past. And we make them whatever it is, I call them the machine because it's an easy way to say that. They
yeah.
become smarter to understand what are the different journeys you see and what how they need to correct them in order to be more applicable and be more relevant and
Hmm.
fair for the outcome. I feel it's happening. I'm a very positive person. I'm an optimist always. So I do
Mm,
believe that we're gonna go in a better situation from where we are now because I do believe we're gonna be excluding the bias. So the moment
mm,
you exclude the biases, the whole system can be recalculating how they deal with the situation, the challenge, the problem, wherever they have to solve for in a better way than my biased brain would do.
yeah.
So, because the intention is going to be completely neutral, it's going to be more democratic. So, I'm optimistic that this is going to be better
Hmm.
and the people who care about this making a more fair process, they will help by feeding in more inclusive piece of information. Will this be the outcome? I cannot tell you, but I hope this is where we're
Yeah.
going to. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my
Yes.
very simplified point of view, to tell you the truth,
No,
Nina.
no. And I love it. And I think, um, it's similar to that, right? I just wanted to hit this before we cover some more fun questions. Is what do you think we're not considering right now that should really be top of mind?
About technology, about inclusion, about what we should not be considering,
I
or
would
in
say
general.
in general. I
No.
mean, it's all intertwined, right? So
Yeah.
just based on what we've talked about today, what are we not considering that we really should?
So if I had to say one thing is that people, human beings is the most amazing element of this world. Continue trusting people, but at the same time, think about the purpose and not only about the money. Think
Mm,
about what makes sense and what is really good for people individually and communities, and less about how much I make. Because if you think only about the commercial outcome, you become greedy. If you think more
mm.
about the people, you go up to a level where your mind is opening up. So don't stop believing in people, but making that intentionally. Keep the intention into that. That's the one thing I would say, tell you the truth, Nina.
I love it.
I
I
don't know if
love it.
it's too,
No.
simplified, but I do believe people are the energy, the power behind everything's gonna be continue transforming everything that's happening. It's not the machines, but let's believe into them and try to take the best of them, not the worst because we have some bad examples, let's say.
Yeah.
They're gonna be
Yeah.
eliminated
No.
anyway at some point.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's what my mother says too. I love that. Okay, so I wanted to before we close, I wanted to go into some fun rapid fire questions, and I love this
Okay,
part. Um,
okay.
is okay, so I have 3 for you. One is, what would be the title of your memoir?
Oh, okay. I know it in Greek. Because my mother used to say that it's not about what you want to do. It's not about what you can do. It's about what you want to do. So because I was always trying
Oh.
to avoid chores and all the stuff, I said it's not about what you can do. It's about what you want to do. And this became my motto that if I want something, this will happen, no matter what.
Oh, wow, I like
Okay,
that.
sassy, but
Oh,
this is what I believe 100%.
yeah, and I like sassy, yes, but I also feel like it's you. It's
Yeah.
you. And then what is the best advice you've ever received? It could be about anything, just something you come
Oh,
back to time and time again.
the best advice I have received. Don't be shy. Because I used to be very shy. And
Ah,
the moment someone told me, don't be shy, I said, okay, I can say whatever I want. And I stopped
yeah.
being shy. Don't be shy. Yeah, don't be shy.
Wow. I would never have thought that. I don't yeah.
Yeah, I was very shy as a young girl. Yeah, very
Wow.
introvert.
Oh, wow. I should take that because I am quite shy too. And finally, one interesting fact about you.
Interesting fact. They call me bubbly because I'm always laughing and all the stuff. But one interesting fact is that if I don't have a deep relationship with someone or a deep conversation, I get so easily bored, I go to the next one. So I may look bubbly, but deep inside, I'm a person who really loves talking and thinking and, going
Oh,
into very deep conversations and different concepts. And
wow. That's nice. I like that. I like that because I have the opposite effect. Most people think I'm really unfriendly.
really? I never thought, by the way.
I got that. I get that all the time. Everyone's like, you're not. You're actually pretty friendly." I'm like, "I am."
You see?
Do not judge person,
You
right?
exactly.
Yeah. And okay, so as we come to the end of this conversation, one of the things that I like to do is, and with all my guests too, is what are 3 key takeaways that you want our listeners to hold on to as they reflect on this conversation?
Um, the three things um I'll I will make four because these are,
Of course.
these have become the motto finally of my life
Mhm.
after I thought about this. First of all, be curious about everything that goes around. Okay. Just go around and see what's happening and whatever attracts your attention, just go there. The
Yeah.
second one, have the courage to do that, to try that. Okay. Don't be shy about trying that. The third one is to be committed. Because if you
Mm,
don't commit to something you decide to do for a specific time of period, so you know that you're going to go through that and try to see what's happening, you will never know if it was good for you or not. And the last but not least is the one that says communicate that to other people. Not everyone can go into your brain. Talk about that. And that's actually are my four C's that I
wow.
managed to keep them down 3 years ago when I was thinking about myself and what I want to do and all the stuff. And I said, I want to do things. So this is what I went from curious, courageous, committed, and communicate. So that's my four things, if I can share them with you.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I'm writing them down. I think that's so helpful. That's gonna help me as I figure out my next step. Oh, thank you so much, Eleni. It was so nice to see you. I can't believe it's been 10 years. It's wow.
I thank you because you gave me my first Chinese New Year. It was the first time to celebrate that. And for me, it was a moment of change, huh? Because from that time, I started looking into what's happening over there. So I love this moment. I cherish this moment, and you know that. And I want to thank you for bringing me closer to your world in a way I never knew you before. And I don't feel that we have disconnect. I think we are still connected one way or the other, the two of us.
I I know, and I'm so grateful you're here. We've both grown in so many ways over the 10 years, but also the conversation, everything just fell into place so
Yeah.
naturally. So I'm so glad you're here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and hope to see you soon again in.
We will be in Dubai at some point.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Alright.
Perfect. Have a
Thank
nice day
you.
then.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.